It was the calm before the storm. Prior to Serena Williams unleashing one of the most vengeful and aggressive strokes in tennis, she teed it up with pure elegance. The ball toss is the most overlooked part of a serve, and maybe the single most underrated aspect of tennis. And Serena's was absolute perfection. This episode of Acing It is presented by Stella Artois. The ball toss might seem like a small matter to focus on when you can bomb in a serve at more than 120 miles per hour, but getting that first part right unlocked everything that followed for Serena. Just look at how she did it. It was a casual lift of the left arm, as if she were carefully placing the ball on a shelf. It was consistent and simple. A lifetime of practice made it second nature, allowing her to not only trust that her muscle memory would yield predictable results, but also to rely on it in big moments. Her overall game wasn't in any way safe or predictable, but that ball toss, so safe and repetitive, set up something absolutely devastating.
There it is.
Serena's game was synonymous with power. Analysts and her opponents raved about it, but even if they didn't, it was evident to the eye. But that wasn't the only thing worth marveling about. Her movement was top-notch, her adaptability underrated, and her ball toss made such a powerful serve completely unreadable. Even players with excellent serves can drop hints. A toss above your head probably signals something with topspin and more margin for error. Out front or to the side probably means something flat or sliced. But Williams varied her serve more than most, and whether she was serving wide, down the tee, or into the body, the ball toss looked basically the same. It's like a baseball pitcher throwing with identical mechanics for a 98-mile-an-hour fastball or a breaking pitch 86 in the dirt. She constantly put her opponents in a reactive position. The speed and spin are hard enough to deal with on their own, but they're magnified when you can't anticipate where the ball will land. When returning serve alone is an act of self-preservation, well, good luck when that two-handed backhand goes screaming by you next. We have all sorts of ways to measure the effectiveness of a player's serve and service game. Ace percentage, first and second serve win percentage, hold percentage, plain old miles per hour. Any of them will tell you that Serena Williams' serve was in a class by itself. But let's deliver on the promise of our series title first and talk aces. The Women's Tennis Association began tracking match stats in 2008, a decade and 8 Grand Slam titles into Serena's pro career. From that point until her retirement after the 2022 US Open, she had 4,162 aces. Only one other player on the WTA Tour, former world number 1 Karolina Pliskova, hit even 3,000. In a 538 piece published before her final tournament, Serena's serving dominance relative to her competition was put into even clearer focus. From 2008 on, she won 75% of her first serve points. Only Ashley Barty also won more than 71%. Serena won 81% of her service games, and only Barty can also top 76%. And all this includes the final 5 years of her career, all Grand Slam title free. In this data set, Serena peaked at 79% of first serve points won in 2017, and 88% of service games won in 2012. Despite relatively average height at 5'9", her hardest serves reached around 125 miles per hour, about the same as Rafael Nadal's serve. He's 6'1". But let's return to the pitching analogy for a moment. Serena liked to mix up her serve speeds, but she wasn't against just reaching back and putting a little extra on one every now and then. Exhibit A, the 2013 Australian Open, site of Serena's fastest recorded serve.
She's just snapping her wrist at the top of the toss to bring that ball in. Right on cue.
That's 128.6 miles per hour spotted with laser precision. The cherry on top, Serena's smirk as the crowd collectively gasps and she catches a glimpse of the radar. After the match, Serena clarified something. That was merely her fastest serve that landed inbounds. She said she'd reached into the 150s before, but those tended to go skyward. She knew her 106 mile per hour career average could get it done, and she operated with total control. It's easy to forget now, but there was a point in 2012 when Serena briefly gave us a reason to wonder if her career was winding down. Following some injury-plagued seasons and a tumble in the world rankings, she lost to 111th ranked Virginie Razzano at the French Open, her first ever first-round loss in a Grand Slam. Following that disappointment, she found a new coach in Patrick Mouratoglou, and as it turned out, Serena was far from done. Muratoglu has called Serena's serve the best of all time. He gushes about the efficient weight transfer, the rigidity of the left arm, how she holds the ball in her palm to minimize the influence of her fingers, and the whip action she generates as she high points the ball. All of this was on full display at Wimbledon in 2012. After surviving some stiff early tests, she swept Victoria Azarenka in the semifinals, thanks to what was then both a Wimbledon record and a two-set record of 24 aces. Then she drew Agnieszka Radwanska in the final. Radwanska won 20 career titles. She finished in the year-end WTA top 10 8 times, rising as high as second in the world. She was by any measure one of the best tennis players in the world for a long period. Her ball placement, creativity, anticipation skills, all incredible. Williams seized a 6-1, 4-2 lead, but Radwanska, playing in her first Slam final, turned things around. She won 7 of 9 games to win the second set and take a 2-1 lead in the third. Then Serena said, "Enough."
And Serena puts the pressure right on her. 4 for 4.
4 swings, 4 aces, all in less than a minute. Radwanska couldn't even react. Demoralized, she dropped the last 5 games of the match. Williams secured her 5th Wimbledon title and snapped a 2-year Slam drought. She won the doubles title with sister Venus, too. A month later, she'd returned to the All-England club to crush Maria Sharapova for Olympic gold, and the Williams sisters added another doubles gold just for good measure. This all gets at another critical part of her serve and her overall game. She almost always got better when it mattered most. Take 2015, for example. She won the Australian Open, French Open, and Wimbledon, and reached the US Open semis. In this run, Serena played and won 11 3-set matches. In an interview with ESPN, analytics expert Benjamin Tom isolated certain stats to measure her clutch performance and found that her first and second serve win percentages and ace percentage were all significantly higher than the average players in the deciding set. Of course, streaks end. In a 12th third set match against 300-1 underdog Roberta Vinci in the US Open semis, she tightened up and lost, bringing an end to her pursuit of a calendar Grand Slam. But at least it provided one of the best post-match interviews ever.
An incredible moment for me. It's amazing. It's like a dream, you know. I'm in the final. I beat Serena. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry.
Serena insisted that feeling the pressure of the moment wasn't why she lost. But even if it was, you could forgive her for actually blinking for once. She won 108 career matches and 6 titles at the US Open after all. She owns the women's tournament record with 70 aces too, something she did twice an astounding 21 years apart in 1999 and 2020. Williams' serve constantly set her apart. And we know a great ball toss is a recipe for success for any player. That was the story for Nick Kyrgios on the men's side. His overall game and drive might not have been nearly as strong as Serena's, but when he enjoyed a late career resurgence in 2022, reaching the Wimbledon final and the US Open quarters, he primarily did it with the best serving of his career. The best servers in 2024 hit aces about 14 to 16% of the time, but Kyrgios was at 20% that year, and once again, the toss was a primary reason. It's one thing to crush a ball 140 miles per hour. It's another to do so without dropping even the slightest hint as to where it's going.
132 ace.
Unpredictability matters a whole lot in tennis, even if mastering it has led to some more predictable results. We have lived in a GOAT era, watching the careers of maybe the 3 best men's players and the best women's player of all time unfolding almost simultaneously. No one in the Open era had gotten to 20-plus Slam titles, but then Novak Djokovic, Rafael Nadal, Roger Federer, and Serena Williams all did it in the first quarter of the 21st century. With all due respect to the men, however, Williams' accomplishments are the most impressive of the 4. It's not just about her remarkable longevity, like the 405-match stretch from May 2009 to March 2018, during which she never once lost back-to-back matches. It's because she did all this in a best-of-3 format. In 6 of Djokovic's Slam title runs, 3 of Nadal's, and 2 of Federer's, they won at least 1 match after losing 2 of the first 3 sets. Williams didn't have that luxury. And yet she still won more slams than Nadal and Federer and only trails Djokovic by 1. She had to eliminate all margin for error, and the lightest, most delicate part of her game, the toss, was her secret weapon for doing so.